Hi, Kate. Come on in.
I've just been like really making a habit of barging into people's homes, like directors. I was just like, hey. I know, exactly. I was like, I think they live here. And we gave it a go, and here we are. They just like let me in. Okay, you guys, I have been obsessed with these two for a while. We call them the Brownstone Boys, right? We have Barry and Jordan, and they renovate these old historic brownstones, adding modern touches, but like really keeping like the beauty of the history. Yeah, the integrity of them. And I love it so much. Maybe it's because I'm an actor, but I feel like the history of a place and thinking about like lives past and people who like lived here, breathed, and like had families. Like it's fun to me to think about that.
Yeah, we always talk about like the stories that the house has
Yes.
because there's been so many people that have lived here before us and have gone up and down that staircase that's super squeaky and right, isn't it? It's hard to wonder stuff.
That's
No one is sneaking up those stairs in the middle of the night that we don't hear.
No, exactly. Let's start at the beginning
Okay. Yeah,
because you guys have a pretty wild, exciting story.
it is wild for sure.
Like, right?
It
Well,
is.
just the fact that two people could meet and realize that they love the same thing and then not only get to like pass time together doing that, but also make a career out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess like we should start at the very, very beginning, which
Wow.
means like I was not born in New York. I was born in Las Vegas,
Okay.
where everything is very new, very modern,
Very flashy.
very
The
flashy.
bulbs flashing.
Tons of bulbs. But I always saw New York on the background. Specifically, I grew up like obsessed with Sesame Street. It was like my go-to TV show growing up.
Really?
And there was something about Sesame Street that I really think is why I moved to New York. Because I always told my parents that I wanted to live on the brownstone block that Sesame Street was filmed on. And I just became obsessed with that architecture. So, of course, I went to high school, grew up in Las Vegas, but I moved to New York. I went to film school.
Okay.
So I was a creative, and I still am to this day. But I really wanted to be in the film industry. I put myself through film school, and I worked at a bakery while I was at film school, and I became obsessed just with I made wedding cakes. I decorated wedding cakes, and I became obsessed with like using my hands to make things.
Yeah.
And I rented an apartment, and I remember just walking up and down the brownstone streets and like always peeking into them in the windows and just being obsessed with like knowing the lives that these houses had. And that career at the bakery led to my career in design because I worked at the bakery, and the guys that owned the bakery were expanding and opening up a second shop, and they asked me to design the kitchen in their new bakery because I was just familiar with the way that the machines worked, and they needed help like designing how everything flows together. After the second bakery opened up, like I'm talking a lot, but
Tell all the things.
they told me how much they enjoyed working with me. The kitchen, if I say so myself, was beautiful, and they had to ask me how I enjoyed it. And it's like this was the best experience. It became a super passion project of mine. They referred me after this bakery opened to an ice cream company. And I joined Brian and Jackie of Ample Hills Creamery. Don't know if you're familiar, but they had 2 shops at the time. And then in 4 years working with Jackie and Brian, I helped them open 15 ice cream shops throughout New York.
Oh my
So I became like I threw myself in the commercial design space.
Yeah.
And then right as that was happening is when me and Barry met. So
And
that was
like 2017.
2017.
2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a little bit of a different background. Always wanted to be an architect all through high school. I knew I was going to be an architect. All the other kids were trying to figure it out. It was like, I got it, going to architecture school. And I did, and I lasted 2 years before I became an architecture school dropout.
Okay.
And in time, I had to put myself through school. I had to work. I had to have pretty much a full-time job. Put myself
You
through
grew
school.
up in New Orleans, right?
I grew up in New Orleans, yes, and I went to LSU.
Okay.
So I changed my major to the College of Business, got a business degree, and got out of there. But I never lost my passion for architecture and design. I always wanted to. I used to draw houses and like floor plans of houses when I was like 8 years. Like, who does that?
Did you like the Sims?
Such a weirdo. Love it. I love stuff like that. Yes.
Okay.
So I went into software sales, which is a far cry from architecture, and I did that for 10 years. I just was in software sales, doing my thing, and decided to buy my first apartment and scrape together every penny I could get my hands on to do that. But because I wanted to kind of make it my own, I did some renovations to it. I lived there for a couple of years, then I sold it. Did pretty well with that. Actually, it worked out pretty well because I made some upgrades to it that people were into.
Yeah.
And then I bought another apartment that needed even more renovations, and then I totally renovated that place, lived there for a couple of years and sold it. Then I bought 2 apartments from just kind of climbing the property ladder. Wow. And so when we closed on our place, it was my 9th closing. So
That's, I mean, for New York, especially, like the market here, as you all know, is crazy. That's a huge accomplishment.
it was fun. I had so much fun doing it, and I just kind of figured out how I could like design a space that someone else would want.
Yes.
And that's who, like, I was designing it for myself. 'Cause it was usually my apartment. It was only a couple of times where like I didn't actually live in the place, but most of the time it was just my place that I was going to live in for a couple of years. So I designed it for myself, but I also designed it for someone else, like this future person who was going to walk into the place and be like, this is beautiful. I want to buy it. And I want to pay more money than, I paid for it 2 years ago.
Totally. It's just crazy how you can elevate something so quickly, and because people can't do it themselves, you can just make so much money off of it.
Totally.
Good for you.
Yep.
So I was renting an apartment. I rented an apartment for 15 years.
Okay.
Same studio apartment in Prospect Heights, Brooklyn.
Great.
And
15 years. That's also weird in New York. To live in one place for 15 years.
But like when I met Barry, he told me that he had, flipped all these places, and I told him about like my career in design. Something right there, I was like, wait, this is weird, and our paths like together could kind of do something. But it wasn't until our second date. I mean, we met on Grindr.
I love it. I'm all about the dating app.
Yeah.
Listen, in New York, it's like we're all on dating apps. And also, I feel like you actually, as opposed to only being introduced to like 5 or 10 people that you might at the workplace, like you're getting to see really who's out there, and then finding someone who's a really good match for you.
Mm-hmm. So we met on Grindr. We talked for like 2-3 weeks before we actually met, which is also very rare.
I know. I'm usually like, let's just get to the date.
Exactly. But there was something about it, and I think also where we were at in each other's like personal lives before we met, we were like, let's keep talking to each other and feel it out. So we met. I was very nervous to meet Barry, and we met at a local bar in Brooklyn. And I walked in, and I was there first. And,
You were there first.
Yeah, and I remember you just walking in. It was in the backyard. I was sitting waiting for you, and you opened the door to go in the backyard, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's so handsome. And we chatted the entire night. Like, I think our date was like 6 hours, and I don't think either of us like wanted that night to end, but we did. And then we immediately set up a second date. And the second date, Barry suggested that we take a bike ride through Brooklyn, and I love biking. He loved biking, and I was like, that's such a great idea.
Yeah.
We biked through the entire borough of Brooklyn, and that's like a huge borough to bike.
Yeah.
And on this bike ride, we've like learned so much about each other. But the thing that I vividly remember is the passion we both had for the brownstone architecture. And we went in all the different neighborhoods, and we were just both like little kids looking. And I remember my mind went back to watching Sesame Street.
Yeah.
I expressed how much this meant to me and to Barry, and he had the same joy. And like, it was something right there and then. I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna have something with this guy for a while.
Yeah. Like you just connected.
Yeah. And very soon after that, I mean, we did our thing. We just like really hit it off very, very quickly. Like we knew we were like meant for one another very, very early on.
Isn't it nice when you get to that place and there's like no questions, like there's no like having to do the pros and cons list, like it doesn't exist.
Right.
It's like you just know.
We totally knew very, very soon. And I don't like at some point we just had this crazy idea of buying a house together. It was probably mostly my idea, just because I'd done it so many times. To me, it was like, buy a house. It's not a big deal. I've already bought a bunch of them and sold them, and it's just a real estate thing. But for Jordan, it was a very big...
It was a huge deal. Like, I knew I was at the point in my life where I was like, I know I want to buy something. I had been renting, so I was able to save some money. And I knew there was no way in hell I was going to be able to buy a full brownstone myself.
Right.
But Barry was the one that suggested. He was like, listen, I know how real estate works. I've done it this. And I told him I was very transparent about my finances and what I could and cannot contribute. He was like, actually, if you can contribute that amount, I can contribute this amount. We can get this amount. And that's when the whole Brownstone really came to life.
That's wild.
It was insane.
So then, okay, so that's like 6 months into your relationship?
It was 6 months in or so, yeah.
6 months in is when we had the conversation, and then on month 7 is when we actually put the down payment on our house.
We spent about a month looking. I mean, I guess it was kind of like fun to go on real estate showings and go into all these really cool places. A lot of them were like, in horrible condition and needed total renovations, and we saw it all. It was pretty crazy. But we found this place and just kind of knew right away it was like a really great block, and it was like right in the middle of Bed-Stuy, which is where we wanted to be. And it just made a lot of sense.
Like, you knew that this was the neighborhood.
Yeah. We knew it.
You had to do some convincing on my end.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, Jordan was a Prospect Heights town.
Yeah, I love that. So then you buy this.
We bought this house, and again, this was my first property I ever bought, and I had so many questions, and Barry was just like, it's fine, relax, this is great. And I was like, no, it's not great. And then I was doing tons of research on like renovating a historic home. And I wasn't finding the exact answers that I needed for us to tackle this renovation ourselves. Also, we're very shy in funds. I'll be very transparent with you. And we knew that we were going to have to take on a lot of the work in this house ourselves, just because, our finances went into the purchase of the house.
Yeah.
So that's research, couldn't find the answers. And I told Barry, I was like, listen, we're going to have to do a lot of the work ourselves, which he kind of gave me the heads up that we were going to have to do. And it's like, let's do it. I put all my skills to use, but I was like, let's blog about our experience so that maybe the community will understand. And Barry was like, okay, sure. Maybe our friends and family will read it.
Yeah.
That's when Brownstone Boys officially started. We started a blog, and I remember the first blog was about the purchase of our brownstone. And immediately after we published the blog, Brownstone reached out to us.
Oh my God.
Which is like a really popular website here in New York for like people to know about real estate. And they had asked if they could run our renovation blog on their blog about tying into the 9 months. And we're like, sure. So now we're like, okay, our blog is not going to just be read by our friends and family. And now it's going to be in front of the Brooklyn community, which was great. And immediately after that blog went live, we just started getting questions left and right about our renovation that people were relating to their own home renovation. And we were giving out free advice for like 2-3 months on how to do
renovating our own house.
We
actually, because Brownstone was running our blog, it gave us a lot of motivation to write.
Okay.
So we wrote a blog post a week for 2 years straight.
Oh my God.
Which we ended up just with a lot of content.
Yeah.
Brownstoner and on our own blog because of that. And a few months in, like probably when we were close to finishing our house, we weren't quite finished yet. So we were probably like 7 or 8 months in. People were, of course, reaching out this whole time, asking us questions, asking us for help. And some people that reached out really seemed like they needed help. The subject of the email would be like, please help.
Desperation.
Like, we don't know what to do, how to do this. This is crazy. You guys are doing such a good job with yours. And so someone reached out that we always try to respond to people, but we were like, do you guys want us to help you do it? We kind of worked up the courage to ask. And that person said yes. And we had coffee with them, and we fell in love with them, and they're amazing. And they wanted to work with us. We told them we'd never helped anyone else do this. Yeah. And they were totally fine with that. So they became our first client.
Wow.
And it was a pretty, full gut renovation of a townhouse in Bushwick. And then pretty soon after that, we had a second client, and then a third client. And around the third client is when we were like, okay, we still had our day job.
I was still at the ice cream company. I think I was on store 16, 17, and Barry was in his full-time position at software sales. Wow. And he was able to work half and half.
I was working remote.
Yeah.
So I could spend a little more time. Jordan had to go into his office. Okay. So it was a little...
But I think something that's so beautiful about this is you didn't go into this intending for it to be this business.
We had no idea. Not at all.
I feel like the best things in life come when you just, it's pure of heart and spirit, and the passion is real. and it's not to get somewhere, but you're just enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
And then other people feel that and like want to be involved in it, you know?
We were kind of open to wherever it would lead us, and maybe it would just be a fun hobby to have gone
Home that you ended up, you know, being able to live in.
Yeah, we finished our house. Like writing our blog, obviously we were able to help other people by putting whatever our learnings were out there, but people also helped us because if we had a question or didn't know how to do something, we developed a little bit of a community around our project. And some of the people in the community were actually people who knew how to do some of this stuff and could help us. So it was fun. And we still feel that way about you know, the audience that follows us and the people that read our blog or watch our videos and stuff. It's a community of people who are interested in like design and renovation and restoration.
And I mean, they're all in Architectural Digest and on HGTV. What other?
Magnolia. We've done a couple of episodes for Magnolia Network. They actually followed an entire renovation of ours. So they followed us around for like 9 months, and they documented the whole before and after. So we've done some pretty cool things over the years.
And it's like, not only do you have like impeccable taste, which we are going to show you some more, but it's like, you're just such lovely people. And I feel like that's such a huge draw too.
It's so important for me to be relatable, even in our design. I like wanted to always just stick to, we really spend ample amount of time getting to know our clients.
I was just going to ask you about that. Like, how important is that to like
the relation
them and knowing them and making sure you like them?
Yeah.
Time with them.
We are definitely learning. It's taken us.
It's a very intense relationship.
The most intense relationships, and you know, we've been doing it for 5 years now. We've completed over like 20 full gut renovations.
So if you don't live in Brooklyn, there's so many different neighborhoods here.
Yes.
How much does the vibe of the neighborhood affect how you go into a house and renovate it?
We love digging into the neighborhood and understanding kind of who would have originally lived there. The Magnolia episode that we did on the renovation, it was in Clinton Hills Carriage House, and we, it was such a
carriage
good
houses. I'm like, oh, it's so cool.
so beautiful. But we really went into the history of the neighborhood and who originally built it and what was going on there, and yeah, it definitely does kind of find its way into the design as well. And that's the first thing that we look at in general. When we go into a house, we're fortunate to mostly work in old homes. And so the first thing we look at is what's the original detail that's there? What's the character that exists in the house, or what would have been there originally, even if it was removed? And so that's the starting point for us, is that original, historical, gorgeous woodwork and plaster moldings and things like that, which we love.
The Fort Greene one is my favorite. It's like, I am obsessed, but even like when you walk in, you talk about like the molding and the plaster. What do you call that?
The plaster medallions and the
just
moldings.
the most intricate I think I've ever seen. It feels like you built everything around that. Like,
That was the
keeping that in
priority.
mind.
That for us, we walked in, we told the contractor, this has to stay. If something else has to go, fine.
Yeah.
Like we had to, because we wanted to keep that ceiling, we had to remove the floors above it so they could do work on the electrical stuff in that ceiling, which was totally fine. We were okay with that because that ceiling was beautiful and there was no way we were losing it. And so we were totally fine with losing the floor upstairs, and it's beautiful now. But that house is gorgeous. So that one is a really good example. It had all this gorgeous original detail, but we love modern design too, and how those two things kind of like work together. Sure.
That's the house too that you took out. There wasn't that big floor to ceiling door that went out, but you carved it out.
Yes. Yeah.
Kitchen, right?
So in the back of the parlor floor, there was the kitchen that we just put in. And this house, because brownstones are usually long and narrow, because of that, natural light is always a struggle, an obstacle to get it in. So we opened up the back of that unit and we added this arched steel and glass deck door that leads out this new deck that we
And
put
it
in.
felt very modern, but also in keeping with like the history of that.
Yeah.
And
So
that was the Duval kitchen.
the Duval kitchen.
Oh dear Jesus. Like,
Same.
I gotta make a lot of money because I want Duval. I want all the things. Okay. Okay, I do have a question though. So like, keeping in mind people that are on budgets.
We're always looking for creative ways to do high-end design on a budget. And like you just said, like looking for salvage architectural details that you can bring back inside the home. And we even, when like Barry's also a real estate agent, which we don't talk about a lot.
Wait,
but,
really?
Yeah, but he also does real estate
What
and
don't you guys do?
something that we always
Sleep much.
even steer the real estate clients with is buying the house that needs the most amount of work because you really can create it one of a kind and do lesser expensive finishes and make it look ornate and all these things. And buying the marble with like maybe layers and layers of paint covered on it and spending a couple hours stripping it, you're going to get that same look and finish by saving thousands and thousands of dollars.
100%.
Yeah,
Because people don't see that and like know that you can actually do that.
We're all about the finding ways to do it on a budget. And even though the houses we work in, they just happen to be big houses because we do the full brownstones, so they're big projects, and of course they have big budgets because of that. But there are budgets, and there's a lot of work here. There's structural stuff to do. There's plumbing and electrical and mechanical and HVAC and all this stuff that has to be done. So there's a lot of money that goes into it. So we do have to figure out a way to fit it all in and figure out a way to save money. So in all of our projects, it's always an exercise of using inexpensive materials most of the time and then upgrading in certain areas just to kind of elevate the whole thing. But we do have a few tricks, and one of them is to find things from salvage yards. This fireplace right here, we put in. This wasn't here.
Right.
Someone had taken all the fireplaces out of this house before we bought it, and we knew we wanted to put that character back into it. It would have originally had a fireplace here. So we found this one at a salvage yard, covered in paint. No one wanted it because it was painted. Beautiful marble under the paint.
But how did you know that this was under there?
Scrape the paint a little
Scrape
bit.
the paint.
You're like, someone painted marble. Why
Don't
would
tell
you-
them we told you this, but
Yeah.
just go to the salvage yard and like with a
Start
little
chipping
putty
it.
knife, just chip away at it if you see paint on it. Of course, if it's marble, don't chip it.
This is a dumb question, but like, where are salvage yards in New York?
There's only a couple, really. I mean, there used to be a lot more, but now there's one in Gowanus, Brooklyn,
Okay.
that we love. It's on 9th Street. And it's just, you spend like hours in there. It's so cool. They have like all this like old ironwork from like the front of brownstones, fireplaces, doors, shutters. If we need something, and a lot of the houses we work in, unfortunately, things have been removed over the decades. Like some of the most difficult work that we do is undoing the damage that's been done in the last 50 years.
Wild just to think that people didn't appreciate like how beautiful, like how could you paint over it?
Yeah, they know.
Very
The 80s and 90s were wild. It was a wild time.
It was rough time. But like, thank God you can just chip it off.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some other things then? Like, what gives you the most bang for your buck?
I would say paint, lights, and trim, which the thing that falls into that category is like baseboards, crown molding, brochure moldings, the wall moldings.
That rental.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Super
Am I
inexpensive.
seeing how inexpensive it is? I don't know if it's hard to do, but it looked amazing.
It's not that hard.
It's really
and
not
it's
hard.
really something that anybody can do, and it's like super budget friendly,
Yeah.
and it transforms your entire space.
Instantly, they did this apartment and they added like the wall molding, and it literally looked like a totally different space. And
It was a
like
brand new apartment, like white box, condo, no character at all.
which we see often in New York.
It's how everything is built.
Yeah.
And it's like we're fortunate to usually work in historic homes and we bring in modern stuff. But in this case, it was the opposite. It was a very modern, like white box. And we're like, we need to bring in some like New York City charm and character into this space. And so we put medallions on the ceilings, changed the light fixtures, put the wall molding on, painted the
Those seem like pretty inexpensive things. Like I looked up the ceiling moldings on Amazon and cheap.
You can get literally $120.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was like, is this real?
So add a beautiful medallion and, splurge a little on a light fixture and get rid of the boob light that is in every single New York City apartment.
Terrible.
And, whatever your budget allows you, you can go you can find a gorgeous light for $50. You can find one for $150. You can find one for $10,000, but you don't need the $10,000 light.
Okay,
like
where do we go for good fixtures like that?
I mean,
Go to.
I'll suggest going to the brownstoneBoys.com and looking on our stoop sale because we link in really gorgeous lights.
I mean, sometimes from Amazon. The light fixtures we put in that rental unit, we got on Amazon.
Do you guys have a favorite project?
Wow, that's hard.
It's like picking your favorite child.
We have favorite projects for different reasons.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, all of our projects are usually like 9 months to a year and a half, and the relationship that we go through with our clients is definitely a roller coaster ride. So we're with them usually from the very, very, very beginning. Sometimes even be like going on, finding the proper house that Barry's selling them, and then all the way to the move-in. So our relationship is there's a lot of ups, there's a lot of downs. However, woof.
I would say Gates House for restoration because that house was just an exercise in restoring every single thing that we could, from stained glass to plaster tapestry that was on the walls to, of course, all the woodwork to, in that house we tried to restore the floors and we couldn't because they were in such bad condition. So we put in all new floors that looked historic, that have like this beautiful inlay in them. So we put in fireplaces in that house. So that was just a really fun project because of all of the restoration that we got to do. And then maybe for overall kind of like modern design, maybe Dreamin' for Green because of the Duval kitchen and the arch door and stuff.
They're all so good.
They're all so good.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I think the one that has a special place in my heart is probably our first project.
Yeah.
Just because it was like we put our everything into it, and the client took a risk on us, and it was just a really special relationship. They also had like twins during the renovation,
and it was during COVID.
So it was just like a really interesting time. And I remember when they like walked in the house the first time, they also didn't live in Brooklyn, so for them to like commute back and forth to the house was, very rare because of COVID and them living far away.
And having twins.
And twins. So there was a lot of obstacles in that. But I remember them walking in the house the night that we had the deep clean. And I just remember seeing their reaction. It was like our own HGTV moment that only we like were the viewers on it. And it was just, that moment lives in my heart like for, I think, forever.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys get along really well and have good taste, like similar taste, right? But does anything differ? Are there any like disagreements where it's like, I love this light, and you're like, absolutely not?
Yep.
Or vice versa?
So I am the bold, colorful person when it comes to like design choices in general.
Okay.
And that you can see through light fixtures, you can see through paint colors, you can see through furniture, and Barry loves like very neutral, modern, sleek, clean design.
Got it.
Yep.
I mean, we make a good pair when it comes to that sort of thing because we balance each other out. Jordan brings in the color and the pattern, and I like things a little more like monotone and neutrals and things like that. But he's definitely opened my eyes to using color in a much bigger way and pattern in a much bigger way. So it's fun, and I think it works really well. And though we do have different tastes in things sometimes, we always come together and figure it out and usually agree in the end.
For sure. Yeah, you've opened my eyes to neutrals, and now I'm like, oh, I understand why you want to use this like
everything
white or gray pillow in this, and it works. So
love that. So I've been thinking about this a lot recently because a lot of people on Instagram have conversations about like what we post and what we present of ourselves is obviously the best of ourselves, right? Like we post things that make us look the best, right?
For sure.
So you're kind of my guinea pigs, but I feel like it could be interesting to be like, are there any things that we don't post about, like things like insecurities, stresses that like might not make the Instagram page, but things that, make us relatable to people to be like, we're all kind of going through stuff. That's
For sure. That's a really great question.
Definitely.
I think, we threw ourselves into this business literally a year into our relationship, and we do everything together. So we not only have a business where we have employees now, but we also like live with each other and we spend every hour with each other, and it's wonderful. But like it's also like, I think separation alone time is healthy in a relationship, and that's something that we don't really like openly discuss on Instagram and social media. It's just like each other's personal journey that we do need that individual time.
Yeah.
We have to create opportunities for that. We don't really like naturally just, have different things that we're doing over the course of a day because we don't have different jobs that we can sit down at the end of the day and talk about our day because we were together the whole time. So it becomes a little bit of a challenge, but I think it's really, it's a different challenge than maybe other couples have But I think it's really cool to be able to be doing this with the person I love, and we get to share this and build this together. And I think it's a cool thing to share with someone, but it does definitely come with its challenges.
Yeah, it is a unique thing because I feel like most people probably don't share the same career. So come back at the end of the day trying to connect over their separate jobs.
Yeah.
Sure. And since it is like a profession that we're doing together, and it's unfortunate, like renovations are messy, and and like sometimes a lot of money is involved when you're working with clients. And I think the way that we handle certain scenarios in the renovation is, I'm a Scorpio, I'm very emotional, and when the client's not happy, like it has a very big stress on me, where Barry is very grounded. He's like, we just need to problem solve, and this issue will get resolved.
Yeah.
But I need that emotion attached to it.
Yeah.
And, we just handle those circumstances differently.
Yeah.
And again, it is kind of a good thing that we're going through it together, because you do balance me on when it's like, Jordan, calm down. Like, we're going to get through this as we get through everything. And it's just,
That makes total sense, though. I would imagine like the client part of that could be stressful, just because it is a lot of money, and it's like an artistic thing. So it's not something that's like, okay, you need your taxes done and I can do it correctly. Like this is so subjective. So you're trying to please them with your own artistic vision for their house, but they're coming in with their own vision, I would imagine, to some degree.
Yeah. And as they should. I mean, they're putting, as we did, all of our money into their home.
Yeah.
And this is sometimes I think we're working with clients that are their forever home, and they know this, and, and we're a huge part of that. And it's
Ups the pressure.
It definitely ups the pressure. It definitely ups the pressure.
Also, you guys are engaged.
We're engaged. Yeah, we're getting married this year in a few months.
Oh
October.
my gosh, it's so exciting. So are you going to do it in your home? Where are you going to do it?
It's a great question. So we are doing a Brooklyn block party for our wedding. Actually, you're the first person we told this to. Our friends and family. But we are, because the community really is wholeheartedly like the most important thing for us.
Yeah.
And, we both have different backgrounds, and like we have a chosen family. And it's like for us, everything to celebrate just love in general with this chosen family, and the way that people bring love into their equation.
Yeah.
So we are literally closing off our block. We live on the best block in the world. And our neighbors are 100% supporting us and like behind us. And they're already like coming up with plans for us to like decorate the block.
Best idea I've ever heard in my life.
my God.
Has anyone done a block party wedding before?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have done the stoop wedding since COVID.
No. This is a block.
This is a block
Yeah.
party.
New York Times, get ready. This is exciting.
Yeah.
So
We're
everyone
pumped.
will come on the block,
Yep.
right?
Everyone on their block is invited, of course. We are opening it up to also the social media world, which is crazy. But we're thinking that we're gonna invite like the people that are a huge part of us like growing, and
This is so special.
yeah.
Oh my God.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
We have lots of fun things planned. There are some surprises.
Yes.
Okay, what are
that
some
gonna
things that you
happen.
can share?
Well, we're getting married on our stoop, so it's going to be literally on our stoop. We're going to do a really big, crazy floral situation around the stoop. We're going to have some food trucks,
Some quintessential New York food trucks.
there's going to be some entertainment. Yes. That's part of the surprise.
There's some surprises.
But we're keeping it very Brooklyn, very community based. Lots of action going to be happening.
And the cutest porta potties you've ever seen.
Yeah. One of the challenges we had to solve, we're like, how are we gonna?
Wait a second. That's amazing. How do you get a cute porta potty?
A lot of design work.
Flowers.
Great.
Yeah.
What you're wearing? What's the? What are people wearing?
So we love a theme. We're thinking the Met Gala comes to the block party. Right? So we have a vision board. We have a mood board.
God.
But we're thinking we're going to do like 2 different toned suits. Custom.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay. Can you take me around like your house and show me some things?
Of course.
Gosh, I would love to.
Yeah.
Also, it's crazy because this house, keep in mind when we show you, we did this before we had clients. So now I think that's the hardest part about being in this house is now we've done all the projects.
Yeah.
So we're always switching things around and always getting inspired by our client projects.
There's probably so many things we would do differently. We also had a really small budget. I mean, the budget that we did our house with was a fraction of what usually our clients' budgets are.
Right.
So we really had to do as much as we could with little
Yeah.
at the time.
But yeah, let's show you around.
Oh my gosh, show me around.
I found this canvas on the street and it was just a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And then it's had many colors over the years, but I made the little dots with egg crates and I just cut them up and then applied plaster around here. And the larger one was just from Paris to plaster, and I did these shapes here for the larger ones.
That's amazing. And I love the branch situation.
Can't go wrong with a branch.
Seriously?
Yeah, right?
If you want instantly make your house look design worthy, like go to these are from the bodega.
We used to gift our clients, now we've kind of moved on, but we used to gift them drawings of their houses.
Wait, that's
And
so
just
sweet.
at the end of the year, we would, or at the end of the project, we would gift them that.
So we would get two made, one for them and one for us. So they would have the exact same thing, and we would keep one.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Also, can you explain this lettuce turnip beets thing? Because I saw
this
that
is
in your
cute.
video, and I was like, this is amazing. Please
I'm
tell
always
me
looking
why.
for fun little sayings, and this is just something to motivate me while I'm in the kitchen. It says, "Let us turn up the beat."
Oh my god, I get it!
It takes you a while, right? So this entire addition, this was something that we did after we lived in the space, and storage is always a thing that you need more of.
Yeah.
So we kind of just did this custom millwork over here, and it's just really been great. Now it's all organized, and it's just a really we have all of our outdoor things. So we made this. This millwork over here is all things that we worked with one of the woodworkers in our project, and we designed this, and then we worked with him on this, and we sanded it and
Finished it
stained
all.
finished it
Oh
all.
my god.
And we built it to size, but the great thing is that the interior of these is all IKEA cabinets.
Yeah.
So we did it again on that budget.
Our kitchen was very budget kitchen as well. So we got these cabinets. These were really low cost, off the shelf cabinets.
Yeah.
That were pretty basic, and it's what we could afford at the time when we did our house. But we put on higher end hardware, so just to kind of elevate the whole kitchen.
Yeah.
And the hardware's from Buster and Punch, which is a hardware company that we love to work with.
Okay.
And they're very bulky and big, and they have this very cool texture on
I
them.
love them.
So it kind of
No, it
distracts you from the lower cost cabinet and makes everything kind of look a little nicer.
It looks very expensive. What about these light fixtures?
I love these light fixtures.
I love them.
They're super cute. We've changed. The light fixtures that were here before these, we made ourselves. We
How did you
got
make them?
all of the parts you need to wire a light fixture, and literally made them. And they were here for a couple of years, but we change things in our house all the time.
Yeah.
So these are from a company called Global Lighting.
Yeah.
And they source light fixtures from all over the world, from different artisans in different parts of the world. I think the artist that made these is from Sweden. They're so cool. They're this kind of metal material.
Yeah.
But I really like the color and the texture on them.
I love the texture.
Yeah.
So we have the dining in the middle. It's and this has also had, when we originally renovated the space, we had our living in the middle and then dining in the front.
Okay, that's what I saw in your video, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we turned it around because we are TV people.
Yeah.
And this is just with the windows in the front, I think it just flows better, and also allows us, we do work a lot from home, so it allows us to have this space to sit down and
We
work.
designed this table.
I was gonna say I love this table.
And we made it extra, it's narrow so that you can navigate around it, and it's kind of this is the area you have to walk through.
Yeah.
So we made it a little narrower than most tables you can just buy off the shelf.
When you
and
say
it's very long.
designed it, who did you where did you do that?
We had a company that's a furniture making custom company called Build Lane. They made it for us. So we sketched it out for them, sent them the dimensions and sketch that we made, and then they turned it into shop drawings, and then they once everything was all worked out, they made it.
The texture here at the base of the leg here is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
I just love the slats here and how that's incorporated in like this dark walnut.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom here, it has that really beautiful, strong steel finish.
Also, this rug.
The
Do you
good
have any-
rugs are very expensive, and then the cheap ones are like really cheap. And unfortunately, not like.
Do you have any hot tips?
I love looking at Leloy. They work with a lot of designers on collections, and I just think that their stuff is really inventive, new, and it's good quality.
So this fireplace is just on the wall here. There's nothing behind it
Yes.
that is, that you need to have a fireplace. It's just a facade, so it just looks like a fireplace that actually isn't working. We can actually see the wall right behind it if you look through here. And they're not that expensive. We usually get them for like $1,200, $1,500 at a
Okay.
salvage yard.
Yeah.
They can be more expensive if you get one in pristine condition, where the marble's never been painted or touched. They
Right.
can be $4,000 or $5,000.
I was gonna
This had
say.
some character. I don't like to
Yeah.
call it damage. I like to say character.
Of course.
Right
And
here.
then I also just fell in love with this like staining of
Yes,
the
I
marble
love
itself.
it.
Yeah.
I just think it gives it some elevated look to
Yeah.
it and a little
And we
different.
actually didn't even we didn't paint this metal part. You can see it's got like a lot of just kind of
I like that though. It is the
damage
character.
on it. It's
Yeah.
character on it, and we were fine with it. We like
You can
this.
also get them less expensive if you do like want to do the research and like go to the
Yeah.
salvage yard and kind of scrummage through
Yeah.
all the fireplaces that are there.
Yeah.
And again, the ones that are painted are usually way less
They're a lot
expensive.
less expensive.
And half the times, the people that own the salvage yard don't even know it's a marble
Mhm.
fireplace.
Ah, don't tell them.
Yeah.
I love the mirror on top. It gives me very Parisian vibes, which
Yeah.
is very much my aesthetic.
So one of the things that we loved about this house when we looked at it is it had all this original woodwork, but it was painted white when we bought the house, but it had like many layers of paint. You couldn't even see this detail. It was like so
Really?
caked up with
Yeah,
paint.
a lot done there.
Yeah.
So we
wood
did
stripping was
the
big.
wood stripping ourselves, and now we kind of become the go-to strippers. But
amazing.
yeah, we learned so much, and we are still very much in. The lady that taught us how to wood strip, Maria, she came and helped us do half of the banister, and then Barry and I finished everything else in this house.
Wow.
So we became very familiar with wood stripping, and now we do it in all of our projects because for us, we knew that the wood in the home was really gonna be the base to the design.
Yeah.
And most of the properties in New York that we are renovating are very wood heavy. So we always like assess the wood first before we actually build the whole design deck with furniture.
So how long does that take to do, and like what's the process of that?
It does take a long time, and it is a very messy job.
Okay.
But
That's something we don't show on Instagram, is
Yeah.
the real mess of wood stripping.
Really?
It's definitely a messy job, and depending on how much of wood it is, it could take 2 to 3 months just to do all the stripping.
For a house.
Is it like you're chipping off the paint? Like, do you use
So if
chemical?
it's
Like,
painted, we're using a chemical, and we're also using a heat gun at first. So it's heat gun, chemical, scraping,
Wow.
lots of like literally hand scraping, getting that off into the wood, but it doesn't damage, and we remove it all with steel wool.
okay.
And then it's just kind of repeating that process until it's like a clean surface, and then the whole sanding and then staining.
And you guys do that yourselves?
We do a lot of it ourselves.
we have a crews that do it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do.
I was gonna say, now that you guys aren't just in your place, and now when you do other projects, like how much of the work do you guys do yourself? I can't imagine you have time to do all of
We
that.
physically cannot do
Yeah.
all the work ourselves, so we're very fortunate that we have solid crews at all of our projects. But for each and every project, we love doing DIY.
Yeah.
Whether it's with the client, whether it's with ourselves, just because it really gets us. We can have our footprint in the home that we're working
Especially
on.
the restoration work
Yeah.
is always really fun to take part in.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's like this is.
It's so beautiful.
We're
and
always
intricate.
every single time we strip all those layers of paint off of old woodwork, we're like blown away by how
Yeah.
beautiful it is, but by how you can see the detail in it, and it's always really.
It's
fun
wild
part
to
of the
think
project.
someone ever painted that to begin
Yeah.
with.
I know.
But also, it just must feel so satisfying to see that, like, you gave that life again.
Yeah.
Right? And to know
Yeah,
that
every
after, like,
time I walk in
hours
here,
and days
I'm
of
like,
work.
Yeah.
It
I
just-
think we only got in 2 fights over this one.
These light fixtures, and also you and your shelving is amazing.
The
This is an Etsy fixture. Etsy is also a really good source for interesting everything, like light fixtures. They like little things for shelves, and the Etsy's just great.
Amazing.
Marble sinks we get from Etsy.
That orange chair. Wait, can you tell me the story about that orange chair? I remember the story, and I love it.
This is our bedroom that has
Sorry,
changed.
do you mind that we're...
No, please come in.
This is very different, actually, from the video.
Yeah.
Guys, you're getting an updated...
Right?
I'm telling you, we changed it literally like, let's paint our room.
Yeah.
So this wall we lime washed.
Okay.
Which gives, lime wash gives a very interesting texture. It's kind of chalky looking, almost kind of velvety.
How do you do that?
In it. So lime wash paint is paint with ground up limestone in it.
Okay.
So it's literally like ground up rock that's in the paint, and so it gives it this really cool texture. When you put it on, you kind of paint in like different directions and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really
a
fun.
specific technique that you use, and it's almost like making X's, and it's really forgiving on the first coat, and the second coat is really about the detail of going through and making sure that it's consistent through wall to wall.
Okay.
But we really love this like terracotta color, and it just really gave a lot
So
of
I love this chair, and when we got the place, this house was horrifying, really, because there were so many different rooms. There was like padlocks on all the different doors.
It was so weird.
And the basement was by far the scariest place in the house. And it was kind of an unfinished basement, messy, but in the back of the basement sat this orange chair.
I'm obsessed with it.
I'm obsessed with it too, and it's just like,
It's
has
so good.
stuck with us. Barry actually wanted to get rid of it and demanded that we keep it. And I think
great.
he is now, like, he is obsessed with the chair just as much as I was from the beginning. But I keep looking at it because I love the orange color so much, but I definitely at someday want to like reupholster it in a different fabric. But I just think this chair is incredible.
Oh,
love it
I
so much.
love
And talking about
it.
history, I'm wondering what the life is with this chair.
Who knows?
The stories of this.
And it was weird because there wasn't a lot of stuff in this house when we bought it, but this was like one of two things that was left in
I
the
wonder
house.
why it
It's
was
like,
discarded. People didn't really fully appreciate how
I
good it
know.
was. Did you find any like written anything? I always think it's interesting when there's like letters.
We find a lot of like old newspaper for some reason. People put newspaper
there's
in the wall.
Yes. Why did people do that? Insulation?
I think insulation, but also I think just to kind of timestamp a little bit. Like this is what was going on.
Yeah, this is one that we found in our walls here. This clipping is from 1906, but we found them from like the late 1800s.
Oh my God.
I love looking at like the classifieds in the 20s and seeing like what furniture cost back then.
It's like 2 cents for things, like advertising.
But we love finding things during demo.
So this is our vintage inspired bathroom. This room was just a little bedroom when we moved in. This wasn't a bathroom at all, and so we thought if we were adding a new bathroom, we would make it look like it's been here for forever. So one of the things that we decided to do, and we got this idea, we're at a restaurant that we love, and they had, to their bathroom, they had like this vintage door with glass in it that said WC on it, and we were like, that's so cool, wouldn't it be awesome to bring that look into our house?
Yeah.
And so we found this vintage door, and it actually didn't have glass in it. It was a wooden panel that we cut out, and then we put the glass in, and then we put the stencil on it and kind of restored the door. And it was fun, and we loved the way it looks. We painted it like
Where
this.
did you get that glass?
This glass we got at a place called Old Good Things. They have a lot of vintage stuff. They sell vintage glass.
Yeah.
So this is actually a vintage glass. But we also we've replicated this many times because every single one of our clients asks for it. So we put this in like everyone's house that we do work in. So it's cool. And we just did like a very classic New York City looking tile, clawfoot tub. Of course, the woodwork is probably the star of the show in here, which we only restored. It was already here.
Let's take a little look. It's so beautiful. This is the lamp I want.
Yeah, I don't remember where that was. We have 2 of them though.
I want to say we got this through Interior Define, but they don't sell lights, but sometimes I know that they have like little knickknacks, and I think that's where these came from.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah. It's such a
It's cool, like marble.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like really feels vintage, but also modern.
Yeah.
And I love that. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I
right?
want that.
This little soap holder.
Is it vintage or is it vintage inspired?
This is actually vintage inspired. So this is a brand new faucet. over here, and then this just came with the soap dispenser on here, but I loved it because it had that vintage look and feel. The first
behind
look,
the
but it's
scenes.
also very much not done.
Yeah, we haven't revealed this space
But
yet.
you might
Oh
be
my
literally
looking at
just
this-
finished it. Look, there's still like
Literally
paint
just finished this
stuff
room.
on the floor.
But yeah, this
Oh.
is our brand new office that we've been working on for the last 3 weeks.
This
We
is
did
incredible.
Our signature Brownstone Boys.
So this
glass
was
panel
an
door.
accordion style closet,
Yeah.
and we converted. We took the closet apart, and now it's gonna be. We're still getting the hardware here, but it's gonna be our like vintage library inspired closet here.
So let me show you what this door looked like before
Yes.
we did that. So you go into our bedroom, we actually have the exact same doors right here. So this is our closet. So it was just this basic closet bifold door
Yeah.
that looked exactly like this, the
Yeah.
exact same thing. And so what we did, we'll go take a look at it again. We cut out this entire top panel, these two panels, so that they were one. And then we installed the glass, and then there's a little trim piece that goes around that holds the glass in that also gives a little bit of detail.
Yeah.
And then we removed these hardware and patched it, and we still have to get regular hardware for it.
That's
but
wild.
it just totally transforms it. It looks kind of like interesting and vintage, and it was just this modern like bifold door.
I have a question though. What do you use to cut that?
Just a little jigsaw.
Well, this one we used. I forget the name of the device, but it's the long saw.
Oh, the
that's what
multi-tool.
Multi-tool.
So those doors became. So this was just imagine
That same
these
thing.
two doors would open like a bifold. So we took them apart because we wanted them to open like French door style.
Yeah.
We cut out those two panels. We put the glass in, and we put this little trim piece in. And we are in the market right now for like some vintage hardware
Yeah.
that we're gonna put on it. That will just complete the picture.
So you cut that out and then you go to a glass person and you're like, give me this.
Yeah.
And then how do you get that in there?
So what we did is we actually just took the measurement here for the glass. We went to the local glass shop around the block. They cut it to size. Once we got the glass here, we put it in here, and then the trim molding here is what actually is keeping
Stuck
it in
to it.
place.
Yeah.
those
So
pieces
for
on
that,
each
we
side.
just nail in with a brad gun, and we just nail in the trim to the glass. So
That's-
that's kind of supporting it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Bye. Thank you, Kate. We love you.
Thanks, Kate.